But the other 3:30 game that we have is actually going to be on ESPN. I think this is, for the people, this is probably one of the best early bowl games out there. Just just respectively from the meme standpoint, strictly from the meme standpoint, because the winning coach of his bowl game gets doused in French fries. Like that sounds like paradise to me, especially if it's warm French fries. Like imagine like eating what just got dumped on you. If it's warm, of course, we don't advocate for eating cold French fries, of course, but we got the Idaho famous Potato Bowl. If you haven't figured it out yet, we talked about Georgia State briefly and their ability to run the ball. One of two teams to actually run decently against James Madison. And Georgia State, they are in a bowl game themselves. They're going to be taking on the Aggies of Utah State. Both of these teams coming in with 6-6 records to their name. And both of these teams are looking to not only finish on a high note for the season in general, but both teams are really trying to cement themselves and build towards 2024, particularly Utah State. Utah State is hot right now. They won 3 of their last 4 games in order to be here in the first place. Georgia State, on the other hand, they've been down horrendous. They have lost 5 consecutive games. And of those 5 games, only one of them was close. It was that Old Dominion game in the regular season finale. They lost to Old Dominion 25-24. But after that, their other 4 games that they lost, James Madison included, they ended up getting crushed by double digits. So it's been rough for Georgia Southern this month, the month of November. Utah State is rolling. So that being said, famous Idaho Potato Bowl. We're going to start with the Georgia State Panthers. How can they finally break this 5-game losing streak? Because Georgia State was rolling right along. They were 6-1. There was some conversations about Georgia State being ranked, and then they got blown out by Georgia Southern and James Madison, and Appalachian State, and LSU. Among that Old Dominion game that I was talking about earlier. Big reason why they were so down horrendous those last 4 games, 2 things. Turnovers were part of the problem, but their schedule got harder. I mean, this is a Georgia State team. It's a good team. Don't get me wrong. It's a good team with great offensive balance and good coaching, but the team played 9 straight bowl teams over the last 9 games, and their defense didn't have a prayer against the better attacks come November. So how is that a good thing? How could this be seen as a possible good thing? I mean, because they're going up against a bowl team in Utah State themselves. Well, while Utah State is here in bowl season, all of their losses, 6 losses to be exact, they are against bowl teams on its schedule, and 4 of those losses were by 10 points or more. So while Utah State is in a bowl game, they have not beaten anybody that is also in a bowl game. So if there was a time for Georgia State to get its groove back, it could be in this particular game right here, but it does need to be stronger on 3rd downs. Utah State has struggled on both sides of the ball on those money downs. So if Georgia State, both sides of the ball, wins those 3rd down battles, it gives yourself a big opportunity to at least have a distinct advantage in this game. Another thing for Georgia State is they need to play clean football. They've been very undisciplined during their losing streak, and there's a massive turnover problem as well. They have turned the ball over twice or more than twice in 8 of their last 10 games. So you got to be clean with your penalties, and you got to take good care of the football. I think that's really important for Georgia State. And because outside of the Georgia Southern game, the offense worked, but their turnovers been killer. The team won when the ground attack was great. And the Panthers, well, they didn't have a rushing offense of Air Force or Boise State, 2 teams that ripped the Aggie defense to shred. but there's enough decent options there for Georgia State to push for at least 200 yards on the ground. And if you do that and you assume that Utah State, you can get 2 penalties or 2 turnovers and 7 penalties, then you could win this game. But that's the problem. Even with those positive aspects, you're assuming that Utah State is going to turn the ball over multiple times and that Utah State is going to be undisciplined themselves. But here's the thing, Georgia State is going to be missing guys in this game. Utah State, however, you can't say that about them. For the most parts, they're getting out of all of this transfer portal craziness unscathed. Now, it's not like they're still not going to have concerns. They're a 6-6 team for a reason. Quarterback consistency, for example. The quarterback consistency has been a huge issue for this team. But Georgia State, they will have some important parts in the transfer portal, especially in their secondary and their running backs. Marcus Corral, their lead rusher, in transfer portal, going to Missouri. So let's say they get that quarterback consistency. Let's say it's a hit more than a miss. This offense can put up some points on the board if you're Utah State. They are number 1 in the Mountain West in total offense. They're number 2 in scoring. And they actually do have good balance. They have a good ground game that really helped take over late in the year that helped propel this Utah State team to win 3 of their last 4 games. Their defense isn't anything special. It's solid, but it's not good or great per se. Their offensive line has had a hard time against anyone with a pass rush, but when this offense is able to get a groove and go their style of football, and they like to go fast, Georgia State wouldn't be able to hang on, but defenses in general couldn't hang on in general. Utah State, when they get to 400 yards or more, they're able to go 6-2. And listen, Utah State, they actually did go up against James Madison. They put up 500 on that James Madison defense. They didn't win the game, but man, did James Madison had a run for their money against this Utah State offense. It can move the ball. It's a problem. So we considering that Utah State is going to be at full strength and Georgia State isn't, and the fact that we're kind of assuming that Georgia State is going to have to force multiple turnovers and Utah State to kind of shoot themselves in the foot, I think it's pretty easy where we want to go here. I think we're going to rock with Utah State here in this Idaho Potato Bowl, and we're going to pick them to win, and I think we're going to pick them to cover, but I would not be surprised if Georgia State wins. Georgia State is a solid team themselves, but I think Utah State is going to take decent care of the ball. I think they're going to come out more prepared, more disciplined. So I think from that standpoint, Utah State, we're going to have them win this Idaho Potato Bowl.